Firstly, I mean, there are the cameras from this documentary as well as CCTV around the school, and we just watched the whole interaction. There's no way she could even argue that. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, then hello. My name is Miss Paris. I am a primary school teacher, just qualified from the UK. Today I'm going to do something kind of different, so if you like this then please consider giving it a subscribe and liking it before you exit this video. So today I will be reacting to quite a popular TV show. It hasn't aired for a few years, but it's called Educating in Essex. There have been other versions as well, so if you guys like this video then I might react to some of those other ones, but I just thought it would be interesting as a primary school teacher, and having trained in a primary school for a whole year, it would be interesting to kind of look at what secondary school teachers experience from a teaching perspective, and maybe look at parallels or comparisons between my own practice and my experience. So, without further ado, let's get into the video.
You may have your phone, you may put your hoodie up at the end of the day.
Okay, this is so trivial, but obviously the last time I was in secondary school I was the pupil, and I just know how much it bugged me with those uniform rules. Now I kind of, from a teaching perspective, I kind of get it, because okay, girls start rolling up their skirts when they're teenagers, and you know, boys start loosening their ties, and apparently that's cool. That's a big thing in the UK. I don't know if you're watching this from abroad, but we have uniforms, even in some sixth forms as well, and in some nurseries too. So from nursery potentially to sixth form, which is from age 3 really to 18, we could potentially be wearing uniforms. It depends on where you attend, but still a long time in uniform.
For Mr. Drew, reality starts at 8:40 every morning.
Excuse me, young person, come here. Just in case for some reason you have been unable to understand a very, very clear rule of the school that you attend, we do not wear hoodies at this school.
I like his sarcasm.
So do not do so. You may pick your hoodie up from me at the end of the school day. You appear to have used your hoodie.
It's also really, really important, and I have seen this because I have picked some areas that I wanted to talk about, otherwise this video would be way too long. I have seen throughout this that he is consistently niggling at them, and it may seem really trivial to the students, it's annoying, but actually if you let one person off, then straight away the other teenagers will be like, oh sir, that's not fair, you know, why do you tell me off and not him? That's the first thing. Second of all, it suddenly makes them feel like it's a gateway to pushing the boundaries a bit more. Oh, okay, sir let me pass in a hoodie last time. So I feel bad for him every single morning being there, kind of take your hoodie off, take this off. But once you set a rule, if you let your guard down for 1 second, it's over. By the way, I forgot to say, do you like my sweets? Like, honestly, oh, they smell so good. I can just smell them next to me, but I'm trying to preserve them a little bit. But yeah, I've got some Coca-Cola, some watermelon, some eggs. Oh, delicious. So apologise if I snack a little throughout.
In order to cover up the fact that you have chosen not to do your top button up. Come here. You may go, you may go. You are inside the building. There is no need for you to wear that dead animal.
Did you hear that? Oh, the sarcasm. The like burn moment, I love it. There's no need for you to wear that dead animal. Oh, legend.
You may have your jacket from me at break and lunch and the end of school each day, so as to avoid the ongoing constant conflict that exists over you wearing it in the corridors.
As deputy head, Mike on a role is the gatekeeper, is the person who's maintaining the standards and the discipline, is the one who's having most of those very difficult conversations.
If you step towards him and try and physically attack him, I will restrain you.
I don't give a shit.
I know you don't. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me!
So, one thing I learnt in my practice this year is that sometimes children, and apparently this works with teens as well, if they are angry or they are exerting a certain emotion and you stay very, very calm, sometimes that can annoy them even more. And so what he's done here, and I have experienced this, I have witnessed this in my own practice, is that he will meet the child or the teen with the same level of intensity. So you could see here this teenager was getting very angry, very frustrated, and so he went from calm, bit noisier, to shouting, and you will see now how he reacts.
I have told you not to.
See, so he suddenly goes, what? You know, like he wasn't expecting that from his teacher, and then he can, Mr. Drew, he can then bring the volume back down. So he went, "Duh!" But, and carries on talking. So suddenly he has the attention of that pupil, because if that pupil is raging and he just goes, yes, I understand, however you have to listen, they're going to be like, no, you don't understand. You know, you need to, only in some contexts can you meet that level of intensity in order to get your message across, in order to be heard. So that's really, really interesting. You can just see that dynamic straight away change because, you know, he wasn't scared to increase his volume.
Bigger bullshitter than me.
I've told you not to speak.
I always thought Mr. Drew, because that everyone does, he is an evil overlord who will completely incinerate you if you annoy him.
Put your report back on my desk. Thank you very much.
See, again, he did it. Put that report back on my desk. Affirmative, loud. She does it. Straight away, you move on. Thank you. See, you don't keep that intensity. It is purely a behavioural management technique. If obviously you hear teachers shouting, then oh, delightful, a little moth thing. If you hear teachers shouting, then that's not very good practice. Like, you shouldn't shout at pupils. It's unprofessional.
But when I actually had him as history teacher, it's one of him, he's actually quite fun. He's completely insane.
Mr. Drew can be a legend, but then when he wants to be, he can be really annoying.
I give you credit for your ingenuity and your ability to get around systems. And although you're probably one step ahead of me, please bear in mind I am always standing right behind you, catching up. And as I catch up, I deal with it. I don't think you're a bad person, Michael, but on this occasion you've been caught, so just accept it, yeah? Michael, thank you very much for your time. I'm sure I will speak to you again at some point, hopefully in more positive circumstances. At the end of the day.
I like that little add-on, because when he said, I'm sure I'll speak to you again, I kind of thought, oh, well, that's a bit mean, because you're assuming that at some point he's going to misbehave. But then he said, in more positive circumstances. So straight away the child almost feels some sense of responsibility to, next time when they see him, be in more positive circumstances. And you know, that's part of the teaching standards, to try and make children feel responsible for their learning. I think just in that little extra, in positive, so 3 words, I think you know, that's already a part of it. It's a very sly, very clever technique, but yeah, definitely. I like that.
I am going to be the brick wall. I am going to be the brick wall. What you want to do is on the other side of the brick wall, and I'm afraid to say I am the brick wall and you are not going past. Are you ready?
Nice analogy.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll explain it to you.
No, because he didn't say I had a break to tension.
Stop.
No, because he didn't say I had a break to tension.
Okay, so stop, stop, stop 3 times and she is still going. He is going to carry on. He is going to carry on until she just has enough, and I bet you she's going to then stop, and then he's going to be able to say his piece. If he tried to say his piece now, and I'm sure this applies for parents at home with teenagers, if they try to say something while that teenager is ranting and going off on one, they're not going to get in a word in. They are not going to be heard. But by kind of, again, niggling, I don't know why this is suddenly the key word of the video, niggling at them until they kind of get fed up, that's when you can get your word in. So he's going to repeat until she's
Tension,
annoyed.
so why should I do
Stop.
detention when I shouldn't even have one?
Stop.
No, because I'm right.
Stop.
Oh my god.
Stop.
She stops. See?
Thank you.
Being sent to Mr. Drew is often
He's
the last
so
resort
good.
for pupil discipline.
You have
I love
10
him.
minutes to serve at lunchtime because you have a cross on your report for your attitude during this lesson.
Since Charlotte started in her final year, she's become a regular visitor to the deputy head's office.
Charlotte has become increasingly challenging as time has gone by, but has moved to a whole new level.
as we've moved to kind of the end of year 10, start of year 11, to the point where there have been times when she has just been completely uncontrollable and outrageous in her behaviour.
All teachers think they're right. That's what does my head in. And I was trying to explain to Mr. Drew the other day that he's not always right. And his voice just goes in through one.
That is teen 101, isn't it? We've all been there, admit it. We've all been there. We're right, they're wrong, they don't understand. It's kind of funny because when you're a teenager, you see it like that, and then when you're an adult, you suddenly think, that's embarrassing to think like that.
And out for the other, and I tell him all the time, but he still goes on.
You will now decide whether or not you wish that to happen. If you don't wish it to happen, then you will refuse to do the 20 minutes at lunchtime. You will walk off from me, and you will then be in a whole load more trouble. Or you will decide to do the right thing. There is no more need for us to have a conversation.
Yeah, there is.
Go and sit down.
No, there
Go and
is,
sit down.
Because why should I do another 2 minutes?
Go and
I
sit
have
down.
to do.
Go and sit down.
No!
Go and sit down.
No, you get to talk to why can't I?
Go and sit down.
One of the things that is different today is that the bound...
Yeah, so that's really interesting. TS7 is all about behaviour management if you're not yet familiar with the teaching standards. And it's so important to constantly reinforce those rules. So whether it's about that uniform, whether it's about even the little 10 minutes that she still has left to do, don't let them get away with it. And that's definitely the same in primary schools. They won't answer back as much. You might get 1 or 2 occasions or 1 or 2 children who do that. But it's quite rare to get it as back and forth. They might say it once, then you say, excuse me? And then they're kind of like, oh, I said something bad. I know it. By the tone of that voice or the body language, I can sense it. So yeah, it's really interesting. And I think if a child did answer back in primary, you don't necessarily have to do that repeat, stop, stop, stop thing. But it's quite a useful technique.
1990s, along comes this bloke called Baring. Baring was a follower of Koch, so therefore Baring used...
We all saw that laugh coming. Come on.
So mature Sam. While Gabby can hardly control herself, the German scientist bloke taught...
Before becoming deputy head, Mr. Drew was a history teacher. It's a lesson he still teaches for 2 hours a week.
That's nice. I like it that he can still kind of go back.
Actually, that's not bad, to be honest, because that is the 3rd lesson running that I've said cock out loud in a very strong way, and that's the first time any of you have actually...
every time you say it.
Without wishing to sound kind of flippant about it, a teacher has to entertain. Because at the end of the day, I think of like the history lesson I've done this week where...
Yeah, that's so important. That is part of the teaching standards. It's teaching standard 4E. It's really important to have engaging lessons. And if you have engaging lessons, well, obviously, children are engaged. They are attentive, they are willing to learn, and also they're more likely to take in information. It's very easy to think, okay, copying this or receiving all this information, it will just kind of go in. But sometimes children really need an active way or a funny way or an interesting way to remember information.
We're talking about a 19th century cartoon from Punch about cholera, a waterborne public health disease, and you're spending 40 minutes talking about this cartoon from 180 years ago with a bunch of 16-year-olds. I mean, you know, if you look at it like that...
I did this in history.
Dull. I'm just not interested. No, they chose history. And I've seen people do these things and it just becomes so dull. But to me, teaching has got to be about making young people want to learn and letting them learn.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm dying!
And I actually like that he acknowledged that it's not the most interesting subject. I think it's really difficult for a pupil, be it primary or secondary, to relate to a teacher if the teacher is thinking this is the most interesting thing in the world and therefore not making an effort to kind of cater to the interest of the children, and then they just kind of expect it to happen. Well, you know, this teacher is so enthusiastic, they're not thinking about their pupils, but he acknowledges that it's boring. So I imagine he's going to find really exciting ways, or as exciting as possible, to teach these children.
Got cholera, it's really, really awful. Oh, I know. I'll come and stay in this nice hotel right in the middle where you lot all live, and then I'll urinate and defecate all over the floor so all my germs and bacteria get out. But don't worry, because when that goes into the ground, the water will leach right into your drinking water, and then you can drink all my waste. So why would lodgings for travellers be a problem for public health?
So I thought history was going to be quite easy. It's going to be about Nazis, Germany and all of that. But no, but all this medicine. The only medicine I knew about was paracetamol and Calpol.
Chadwick has evidence. What evidence can Chadwick give you that poor living conditions make you die?
Dirty water.
No. Look at the graph. Look at the graph. Look at the graph.
Birthday to you. Oh, look at his face, he's so happy.
You look like a monkey.
The man in the pink is the head teacher, just so you know. I mean, that's really sweet, but I also kind of wish they would have come in on the part that he was talking about doing business all over the floor. That would have been quite funny. But also, look how sweet this environment is. You can see all the pupils are smiling, he's happy, the staff are happy. And I think compared to, let's say, one of my previous jobs, like in retail, you don't necessarily always enjoy the environment you're working in. Whereas here, you know, everyone seems happy. I know this is just a snapshot. There are hits in education that aren't as good, but wanting to come to work is so important. And I think just a little moment like this can just make somebody's day. I worked on my birthday and, you know, I didn't mind because I brought a cake into school, we all had some cake at the staff room, they all signed a card, which was really, really lovely, because I'd only been in the school for 3 months. And it just brightens up your day, you know, you kind of wake up thinking, oh, it's my birthday, I need to go to work. But if you work in an environment where everyone is supportive, you know, you have a good team around you, it makes all the difference. It makes a huge, huge difference. Yeah, I just think this little, I don't know how long this clip is, 5-second clip, is just a lovely example of how nice of a community schools are to work in.
Happy birthday, Mr. Drew.
Just have 5 minutes of happy birthday time.
Yeah, 5 minutes. Doesn't have to be excessive. 5 minutes.
He's such a grum. Happy birthday time, sir.
Thank you very much. You're very kind. Thank you.
Have you all been nice this lesson?
They've been lovely. They always are lovely. The highlight of my day is my hour with my history class. That is the highlight of my day.
Lovely.
You have no idea how much I like teaching you. You have no idea.
Mr. Drew's amazing. He is probably one of the best teachers in this school. The way that he just teaches and it gets stuck in your head so quickly.
They engage.
He's just such a good teacher.
If I am a wealthy taxpayer in the 1840s, I don't want to pay for you poor people to have anything. And you're poor because you have too many children, you drink too much, you gamble too much, you smoke too much, and you don't work hard enough. Because you don't know about what?
Germs.
Okay, that's it. Right. Can you please make sure that sheet's in your book?
I haven't got a book, sir.
Unless you're Tom Tamford.
I haven't got a book, sir. Oh, I mean, I'm glad to know that it's not just primary schools that have that problem. At the beginning of the year, I made pencil cases with my mentor so that every child, so 30 children, would have a pencil, a handwriting pen, a ruler, and there was definitely something else in there. That they would all have their individual ones every single day. At the end of the day, there was always 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 pencils left over, some under the chair, some on top of the table, and then, you know, you'd always see the culprits the next day and like, oh, I don't have my pencil. Oh, funny that. I mean, I guess in secondary school it's even worse because then you actually have to remember your own books and things like that, but trusting children with stuff is difficult.
Anything else, anybody? No? Don't give me this half term, it's been bloody hard work, I have to say. This is probably one of the toughest half terms I've had, I don't know about you lot. But the hardcore kids we've got are really fairly hardcore at the moment.
Okay, that's really interesting. In my placement school, this was a really hard point in the year for us as well. And I don't know if that's because it's the time of the year, if it's the end of the term, but we found that it was, because it was nearing Christmas, children were just excited for Christmas. They didn't want to be at school, that's not what they fancied doing. And also because it's the end of term, they have gone from October so long, concentrating so hard, doing so much work, you know, they haven't really had time off. And so we found behaviour really difficult to manage. And afterwards I went to my second placement. So I didn't go back there until February, but my mentor said that it was really difficult behaviour-wise and that they spent a long time still trying to get back into the routine. So I don't know if in secondary schools it's still similar, because teenagers are still excited for Christmas as well, or if it's just a pure coincidence. But that's actually quite interesting.
They are massively time consuming.
I think, like most Year 11s, the vast majority of them just get on with it and just do it and will do really well. I think that there are just a few more who are perhaps more challenging than maybe last year, but not necessarily more challenging than we've had in the past. But I also think we just get better at keeping going with them.
Cool, then tell me a bit about your behaviour.
What about it?
Hello, where are you?
Despite numerous visits to Mr. Drew's office, Charlotte's behaviour has not improved.
Why, you're not even left yet?
Her obsession with her mobile phone is becoming a flashpoint with staff.
Where are you?
I think mobile phones are one of the biggest disasters in the modern education system that exists. Absolute disaster in every possible way. They are incapable, lots of young people, of coping with the possession of a mobile phone and doing their education. Completely incapable.
Dina's got safe mate. Ashley's got why did I agree to this, because she's gone and done that thing.
If they do anything in a lesson whatsoever, they're confiscated. There's no grey areas on that. If the phone beeps because the battery's going low, it will be confiscated.
Consistency.
Okay, phone and phone now.
Phone
there and there.
Well, this is actually, I didn't notice this the first time I watched this, but the way she's sat on the floor, she's looking up at them, and they're not even near her. I had a lesson where I kind of wanted, I was running out of room and I wanted the children near me so that I could talk to them, you know, like a kind of cut-off group. And I crouched down on the same time as them, and I'm not very tall, so I didn't really hover over them at all. And that was actually commented on because it's saying, you're not showing your authority, you're kind of showing yourself as equal to them. And when you're trying to establish rules or reinforce things, acting like an equal isn't beneficial. And it's so, I think it's quite interesting now how she's trying to reinforce a rule while being under them physically. She's physically at a lower level than them. She is not under a chair, but she is sat down, she has her arm on her chair, they are sat on chairs. And I think that's quite interesting. I wonder if this is why they aren't as responsive when she says, give me your phone.
My phone. It was. It weren't. It was. My phone's in here. What was it then? I want it here.
It weren't my phone!
Don't shout. Mason!
Jesus.
Shut up. I'm not going down this road again.
Well, I am.
I want your phone.
You ain't having my phone.
Shut up. I'm not going to go through this again.
Well, you ain't having my phone. If you want my phone, I'm going.
Have you always been like that?
No.
Seriously?
No, I actually ain't. Dunno. Year 10, I think. No, year 7 and 8, I wasn't that bad, but I was bad, but...
That... Did you hear that? She said, I was bad. And unless she just couldn't really be bothered to find another adjective, the word bad and naughty, I really just don't agree with. I don't think any child should be classified or termed as bad or naughty, because it sounds like such a decisive thing, like such a harsh and set in stone judgment, you know, bad or good, right or wrong. And for her to say, I was bad, I don't know, unless she, you know, like I said, just couldn't think of another adjective, it's likely that she might have heard that word or that adjective just used for her somewhere else, whether it be parents or previous teachers or, I don't know, but choices can be maybe not wise, or maybe they didn't make the right choice, but saying somebody is bad, I don't know, just doesn't sit well with me, because how sad for somebody to think, I was bad back then, and she's just saying actually, you know, she got worse. She didn't used to be that bad, and now she's getting worse, so does that mean she's still bad? Does she view herself as a bad person? Like, she's not. So I really hope she doesn't see herself that way, because to define somebody by the actions they take, especially at that age where, you know, you're kind of hormonal and, you know, an environment that you don't necessarily want to be in, which is school, and you've got stress, like, relationships and friendships and peer pressure and exams that you don't necessarily have in primary school, to view yourself as bad, that must really do something with your self-esteem. I really hope that that was just a choice of adjective and she doesn't view herself that way, because I don't know, I think that's really sad.
In year 9 I was worse, and in year 10 I was worse, and in year 11 I was worser. No, is that a word?
You see this? You see, look at my fingers. You see this? All right? Now look at me.
I really look.
No, I want you to look at me. Keep looking at me. Look at me.
Whoa.
This was how much patience I had for you on Monday. And this is about now.
Oh, it's so true. Monday you come in with so much enthusiasm.
Do you often end up being
you
isolated?
don't leave with much. That is definitely a similarity.
Yeah.
Like your phone again.
She is, this very intelligent young person. She is somebody who is unable to make the right decision, who wants to express herself and the rest of it. But actually, sometimes as an adult and as the teacher, you've got to be able to stand there and say, do you know something, actually, you need to stop. Because if you don't stop, and if I don't stop you, and if I don't sort of battle you, and I don't stand there and stop you from doing it, you will make a disaster of your life. Shall I tell you something about your life? Shall I tell you something? In your life, you will never, ever come up against people who are as calm and patient as we are for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So I suggest that you, at the moment, are simply reinforcing the view that people have of you, which is where people actually say to me on a regular basis, why do you bother? And I spend my whole time telling people, because she's worth it, because she will do well, because actually deep down there's a nice, decent young person trying to get out. Yeah. Your attitude is disgusting.
Is that the battle, I suppose, for them to accept what you think is acceptable that is different from what they think is acceptable?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Battle's an interesting word. I am therefore... You think about a battle, if you're a sort of military historian and you're studying a battle, battles aren't always 24 hours a day, complete head-on charging into each other. Sometimes battles are actually about planning. Sometimes battles are actually about periods of lull, periods of quiet, and then periods of intensity. So I think battle probably is a good word, but it shouldn't be taken to mean it's a fight the whole time. Give me last week's report.
That's nice, because another point that he probably means with the whole doesn't mean it's a fight all the time is that children can demonstrate hours of a day or even certain days of the week where they find it harder to cope, or they might show harder behaviours than in other hours or other days of the week. And so it's interesting that he says it's not constantly a battle, it's not constantly a fight, because there are lots of good times as well for each child. And that's why I kind of thought that I was bad was quite a sad statement, because just because even if you go to the deputy head several times a week, that doesn't define you. That doesn't define your whole time at the school. That is just a portion of it. It's not always a battle. It's not always a fighting time. There are moments of quiet, like he said, and there are moments that are really, really positive. And I think that as teachers, primary or secondary, is what really keeps us going, knowing that it's not always like that. There will be days where we just think, wow, I've walked into a different classroom, what an amazing day. And there are times that even I have gone home or barely made it to the end of the lesson and just cried. Not because it went badly academically, but that it was just so tricky. And trainees coming into this, they will hear horror stories. They will hear things from teachers who have experienced a lot, telling them the negative stuff. And this is almost a good analogy for teaching as a whole. There are fights, there are battles, but it's not always like that. There are good times, there are positive times. There are times when you can't think of a better career in the whole world. Yeah, I'd love that little battle analogy. That was brilliant. I really like that. Now would also be a time to thank somebody for providing me snacks during this video. I have partnered with the Bon Bon Boys. They are a company that sell sweet boxes. They have 2 different types and they have a vegan box. If you just look on their website, bonbonboys.com, you can see the large variety of sweets that they have. In my snack, I have chosen the watermelons, I have some shrimps, I have the fangs, I have the fizzy Coca-Cola bottles, but as you can see, there's so many to choose from. It's absolutely brilliant. So a big thank you to them, and I will leave their website down below.
The most difficult students are given what's called a fixed term exclusion, meaning that they're suspended from school for up to a week.
I'm looking to exclude between 3 and 5 days, to be honest. Okay. Because I think, you know, it needs to be that very, very clear and stark message.
But if these measures fail, schools can permanently exclude a child.
I don't like
Mr. Drew, though, expelling a student isn't the solution.
Yes. Good on you.
When I was at school, there was always that fear of being expelled. So if the school strives for no permanent exclusions, then there isn't that fear in the students. So ultimately, they're always going to win.
No. Yeah, of course they're going to. I want them to win. But I want them to win. I don't want them to lose. Permanent exclusion is wrong. Wrong. Morally wrong. If I permanently exclude you from this school, you are significantly more likely to be involved in criminal activity, you are more likely to go to prison, you are more likely to fail your qualifications, you are more likely to not succeed. So that's wrong.
And I don't think that's acknowledged enough. Also, it's on a permanent record. My brother's secondary school is quite strict, and actually they're very strict, and they kind of had a warning system and then straight to isolation system. And then after a few isolations, you're permanently excluded. But they could be sent to isolation for something as small as forgetting a pen or turning around to look behind them. Not even talking or making somebody laugh, just turning around. And there have been so many Year 7s excluded, knowing that the transition from Year 6 to Year 7 is such a big one, it's such a different environment, and they are going to have something permanently on their record that's going to potentially impact them for the rest of their life. It's so harsh. It's such a difficult decision to take. And I think that, I forgot what they called it, fixed term exclusion, where it's like 1 to 3 or up to 5 days. I think that's a good compromise, because it's like, look what could happen, you know? But it's not making something so definitive, so decisive that you're not coming back to the school. I don't think you could do that to any child, because if you think about it, our whole job is to teach. Some of these children won't have the opportunity to read outside the classroom. They won't have access to different texts. They won't have access to supportive parents, or they might not have access to parents who can support them to the level that they are studying. If you have parents who may not have passed their GCSEs, then if the child is doing A-levels, once they are out of that school, where can they get the help from? Sure, there's Google, but Google doesn't replace teachers, and I think this whole lockdown COVID thing has proven that. You know, and I think doing something so drastic as to say you can never come back, I think that goes against everything we do regarding differentiation, inclusion. Give that child a chance. It's your job to try and work with them and teach them. If they are building barriers against you teaching them, you need to try and knock them down.
Tell you what, becoming a no-fail organisation is not easy, is it? It's going to kill us en route. Well, you a lot, to be honest. And then when he explodes, you'll be covered in body parts and detritus and other stuff that's flying around.
So I tell you what I worry about all the time, right? So I tell you what really, really worries me, I think, like the Channel 4 thing, is that people watch it and they just think we're a bunch of idiots.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Do you know?
Just kicking it out.
It's kicking it out. And the nice people go, oh, how hard they're working, how hard they're trying, all this of it.
It's so
and then
true.
bloody hell, Michael Gove stands up at the House of Commons and is asked, have you seen what that deputy did? Yeah, man's an idiot.
Yeah, kick her out.
Just kick her out. This is not what we want in the British education system. That school is the cause of the problem. That's the main thing I worry about with this documentary, is that we do everything that our colleagues in education will think is fantastic, great, and all our kind of social, all the rest of it will think is great, and the greater public watch it and just think, you're a bunch of fucking idiots.
I know.
What?
Nice, fair enough. This is yeah, obviously around Christmas, in case you hadn't guessed. I hope it's not copyrighted for this song.
It's almost the end of term, and the heavy snow is causing problems. It's 8:15 on Wednesday morning, and for Mr. Drew, a rule-breaking red hoodie is about to turn his day upside down.
Okay, stop. You can take it off before we come any further, because I know that it has been a source of great conflict over the last few days. So we'd like to start the day, wouldn't we, Carmelita, without conflict? Yes?
No,
Right. Shall we start with conflict? No, exactly. So let's not.
That's good, giving them the choice. Do you want to start? It's in your, the ball is in your court right now. Do you want to start conflict? They can say yes or no.
Not start with conflict. Don't tell me to shush.
She's one of the most challenging young people that we've ever had. Definitely one of the most challenging young people we've ever had, by a long way. Because she has that attitude that I always say that young people have. Once a young person decides they don't care, and they don't care what you do, you're stuffed.
Good. You may have it at break time. Thank you. No, you may have it at break time. Right, then we shall start the day by walking around the school together. No, I won't go away.
He can be alright sometimes. You can have a laugh with him, but when you're like annoyed and he comes up to you and you just, I think it's the way he talks as well. He talks like sarcastic.
So pleased that we're starting the day with conflict, which Carmelita has now chosen.
It's hard to describe it. It's just like something that won't go away.
Deep down.
That's good though, because that just shows, and this is a theme throughout, how many times we do it in a day, that we are constantly reinforcing these rules. I think a big one in primary school is don't swing on your chair. Don't swing on your chair. 4 legs on the ground, please. Don't swing on your chair. For them, it must be the uniform thing. But I liked how she was like, oh, I'm putting it in my bag. And rather than him just thinking, okay, that's fair, she's not wearing it. He went, no. He was like, fine. We'll start the day following you around the school. Knowing he said that that child was quite, I keep saying child, teenager. She's quite difficult to manage behaviourally. For him to take that upon himself, to do that knowing he much rather would not, shows good leadership. It shows that they are not getting away with it, and they can't, because I can imagine even more so with teenagers. They will fully take advantage. You will end up having doormat written on your forehead for the rest of your time there. And I think, and I've learnt that from the secondary trainees in my skit course, make sure you reinforce that from the start. I'm going to start my job in September. I will be making a video on it, but I need to introduce myself to several different classes, and I know that how I do that is going to basically be a major factor in how they view me and how they respect me for the rest of the year.
Just at the moment, buried so deep, there's this really kind, caring person. She just can't find it.
Oh dear, now you're excluded. Okay,
wow.
That solves that problem. Well, Carmelita, it's entirely up to you, because after I think
Well,
I need to
excluded
know
for
your mother to inform
swearing.
you you're excluded. So
I love how the lady there isn't even phased, like she can hear this and she's just like, oh, normal
The
school
penalty
day.
for swearing at a teacher is a one-day exclusion.
So yes. Okay, your choice.
As a primary school teacher, I'm quite interested to know if there are any secondary school teachers or trainees out there. What happens if a teenager deliberately doesn't want to be in the school and they will, let's say, swear on purpose to make sure they can go home? Is that not kind of positively reinforcing that behaviour because they're getting what they want? Would you ever make an exception and say, okay, because we know you're doing that on purpose, we're going to keep you there? Because that's almost like a punishment to them. Or are they no exceptions, straight away send them home, but then they're getting what they want? I don't know. I find that the similar to in primary when, let's say, part of the behavioural policy is 2 minutes outside. If they don't want to be in the lesson, they'll do that on purpose so they get sent outside, but then they're really happy they're sent outside. So in a way it's not sanctioning them. So I don't know. Please let me know, because I mean, I want to learn.
But we don't need to wear it. I don't care. Where's your tie?
In my pocket.
Then let's do all of the uniform things, shall we do?
Oh.
Okay, nobody else is allowed to exclude anyone today. Because I've already excluded.
You excluded someone before we even started the day?
Yes, that'd be Carmelita, because she had her hoodie on, so I said, how about we avoid conflicts and how about we solve the problem and you give me the hoodie?
Nice.
No, you can just
Nice
piss
line.
off. I said, well, there we go, Carmelita. She said, shall I go home now? I said, well, that appears to be the choice that you've made, Carmelita, doesn't it? So I shall ring your mum when I have a moment. Thank you very much.
Can we just keep her off till January now, then?
I like her. She's one of my favourites.
Okay, brilliant, Russell. Then you ring her mum and say, unfortunately, Mr. Drew has deliberately caused your daughter to swear at him, but I don't want to exclude her. I'd like her to stay in school and do an English at GCSE with me.
Hi, it's Russell King, Assistant Head of Passports. Basically, I'm calling on behalf of Mr. Drew because he met Carmelita before school started today and asked her to take off her hoodie because she was indoors. And Carmelita basically refused. And he ended up following her around the school and asking her. Oh, sorry, no. So Mr. Drew just tapped me on the shoulder and corrected me on that, sorry. This then kind of turned into a protracted period of Mr. Drew following her around. Eventually, she just told Mr. Drew to piss off. Mr. Drew, she's just told her mum that you pulled her by her shoulder.
She can say whatever she wishes to say. At no point whatsoever were I within 2 metres of her.
Hi.
Wow. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Firstly, I mean, there are the cameras from this documentary as well as CCTV around the school, and we just watched the whole interaction. There's no way she could even argue that. B, imagine hearing that news and then still answering with such a calm demeanour. Like, obviously he knows he didn't do anything, but that was so calm. I'd be like, no, I didn't. No. He's like, well, rest assured that I wasn't within 2 metres of her. Wow. I mean, I hope that comes with experience because, wow. And also, that's another thing, with the parents getting involved, they obviously and naturally and normally so will listen to their children. But some occasions in my placement where a child said something to the parent and the parent didn't interpret it as the child meant and it blew up, the parents don't realise the impact that it has on the teaching staff. And especially with safeguarding being the core value of everything we do, if we can't keep the children safe, then there's no way they're going to learn. So we can't do our jobs. We need to make sure these children, these teenagers, whoever, are safe. They don't realise the impact it has on suddenly everyone, like everything stops still. So for him to so calmly react, honestly, my mind's a bit blown at that.
I did hear that. Mr. Drew, I just relayed that to Mr. Drew as well, and he said that at no point was he within even 2 metres of her, so he categorically denies that accusation. I was calling to, because Mr. Drew's initial instinct was to exclude Carmelita for what she's done, and I said, well, hold on a minute, Mr. Drew, I've got quite a good relationship with Carmelita, she did a lot of good work for me earlier in the term. However, now that I've heard Carmelita lying about Mr. Drew, and
look at all that data behind.
I'm sorry, are you accusing me of that, please? Right, that's the end of this conversation. Goodbye. That's horrifically rude.
Oh, I didn't realise that we could do that. Is that still professional? Are we allowed to do that? I'll bear that in mind in future.
I absolutely refuse to have anything to do with that woman. She accused me of licking your backside.
Did you hear that?
I feel horrendously insulted by this, and I require the head teacher to now take this up on my behalf.
Little Easter egg, isn't that cute?
School rules dictate that any accusation of assault must be dealt with immediately by Mr. Goddard.
My job as a head, the first and most important thing is to keep people safe. It strikes at the core of what school's about. You know, parents choose schools because they trust them to do the right thing for their young person. And the very, very worst thing you can do is to put them in an unsafe situation with somebody who's supposed to be trusted.
She's got this red hoodie that she wears all the time.
Yeah.
And if you tell her to take it off, she either argues and takes it off or does it. But the moment your back's turned, she puts it back on again. Right. She told me to shut up, get lost, and all the rest of it. And she said, well, you can just piss off because I don't want to talk to you about it. I said, fine. In that case, then, you'll be excluded for swearing at me. So she then says to Mum, Mr. Drew grabbed hold of my shoulder. That's which my Russell said to her Mum, clearly.
Which also, how does she tell her mum if they're not allowed phones? So surely she's like double breaking rules then.
Carmelita has now not only sworn but has also made an accusation of assault against a member of staff.
Yeah, okay. Could you... Carmelita, come in, please.
So you see, this is what I mean. Talking to Mr. Drew, so Mr. Drew has to take time out of his day. When he already took time out of his day to walk her around the school, Mr. Goddard, the head teacher, then has to call her in, talk about her, and then afterwards they need to investigate it. And knowing it's a false allegation, and we can all see that it is a false allegation, how time consuming, and the parents don't see that. They don't see that this false allegation could have been made in a fit of rage, and then they will come storming in or being rude on the phone to the members of staff who haven't done anything. And it really affects the running of the school. And obviously, if there is ever an event that, you know, is truthful, oh my goodness, you know, by thoroughly investigating, we will find out, it will be dealt with accordingly. She's old enough to know that lying about something so severe is wrong, and the implications that lie can have. It's just, I feel so bad for them.
Well, tell me what's happened today.
I walked in.
Yeah.
And then he was just like, kept on coming near me, started saying, I'll take your place. I was like, no, I don't want you to. And he just kept on carrying on speaking. I was just like, touching my shoulder and that, like, trying to bring me back to get my jacket. I was like, get off.
Where did that happen?
Outside toilets.
Okay. Obviously, I need to look on the CCTV footage for that, because I take members of staff assaulting students really seriously. And the accusation you've made is that he assaulted you, according to your mum.
Well, at least I've admitted that I told him to piss off, because it was.
I'm asking you, what I'm trying to get to the bottom of, have I got member of staff that's a danger to young people who can't control himself? In which case I'd need to suspend him, wouldn't I? Can you come and show me where Mr. Drew made contact with you so I can go and check the CCTV footage, please? So the initial conversation happened sort of down the tech corridor, is that right?
It started at this.
Sort of down the end there, yeah?
There. He went like that, and his hand was like towards my shoulder. I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, come back.
Didn't she say to her mum that it was like pulled or grabbed my shoulder, and now she's kind of making this hand movement as if it was like a swift pass, or I don't know. I think he knows that she's lying, but you know, it's so good how professionally he's taking it, and I think it's important for all parents, families, etc. to see how these things are dealt with, so that they know that children and teenagers are taken seriously and that action is taken afterwards. But it's clear that her story just doesn't add up.
And then I turned around and he's just like got his arm out. I was like, what are you doing? I was just like...
Well, no, so I've got his arm out or grabbed you or made contact. I can't, you need to give me exactly what happened, because obviously I've got a camera there which will see it quite clearly, and a camera at the far end that will see it quite clearly. So
that little red thing?
No, the black circle, that black circle there, and that black circle up there.
Yeah, because obviously that was locked at the time, and I turned around and he's got his arm out and he went like that. He was just like, swapped it down, and I went, sir, what are you doing?
So he did or he didn't make contact?
Yeah, he went like that.
Right.
And I was just like, sir, what are you doing? And he goes, you need to give me your jacket back now. And I was just like, oh, and I just pissed off, and then I walked away.
For the pupils and the staff's protection, the school has its own network of CCTV cameras.
Hi, mate. Can I review something on the CCTV camera? It's a Channel 10 camera.
I'm interested to know if other secondary and primary schools all have that, or is that up to the school's decision board or their budget to allow for that? But I'm curious if you guys have 2 in every corridor, that kind of thing, because to me that seems excessive, and I can't really remember that in my secondary school, or if it's just this school has decided to take that action, or yeah, let me know, because I don't know, I'm really surprised they've got that many.
Between 8:35 and about 8:45. We're looking for Drury. Coming in that direction towards the camera.
Well, that's a nervous telltale sign.
That's it. 9:14. There's no contact at all there, is there?
It must be difficult, because obviously he knows he didn't do anything, but there must still be that, you know, that sense of nervousness.
Come in, please. Right hand screen. Remains a couple of metres away. No contact at all. It's not, I don't believe you. I can't believe you, because it's not true. It's quite simple. Photographic evidence, we can go to court if we need to. Come back round.
Music as well, I'm like...
Close the door for me. Hi, it's Mr. Goddard. Hi, I've got young Carmelita with me. Just going through, obviously she made an accusation against a member of staff this morning, so I've just been through that with her. We've just reviewed it on CCTV footage. We've got the whole incident. Mr. Drew wasn't within arm's reach of her at any time. No problem. I took her seriously, and you know, please ask her. You know, I took her seriously. I take all accusations like that seriously. I've looked at the camera. I've looked at the cameras all the way around. Followed it around. There was no contact at all. Yeah. Obviously, she needs to come home, and we'll see her in January. Sorry. All right.
I mean, I don't know what the date is, but it's clearly sometime in December. But is that 3 weeks expelled? Is that 1 week? Is that a few days?
Thanks a lot. Bye. Bye.
Why would I lie that someone touching me?
There was no contact, Carmelita. He hasn't assaulted you in any way. You made a false accusation against a member of staff. Well, that's what your mum said. So that's all I can deal with. Your mum's your adult. Your mum's the adult in this situation. She will only react to what you say. Now, you can try and deflect from the fact that your behaviour is unacceptable by making accusations against staff. However,
I love that word, deflect, because essentially that's what she did, and she's being so stubborn. She's still not happy with an investigation. Why would I lie about something like that? Just to try and, again, what he's saying, deflect. That's such a powerful thing to do, just to avoid getting into trouble. But yeah, he's absolutely right.
We'll always look at them seriously, because my job is to keep you safe. I do feel I keep you safe, and actually the unsafe person is you. Your behaviour is unsafe, because if you make accusations against staff, their futures are on the line.
See, so that whole thing I was saying about bad or naughty, he just said your behaviour is unsafe. He didn't say you're an unsafe person, you're not safe, your behaviour is unsafe. So if she decided to go home and reflect until January, she would have the opportunity to change that so her behaviour wasn't deemed unsafe. She could come back and behave completely differently. She's been given the adjective for her behaviour so she knows what to change. If you just said, that's wrong, well, is that wrong on like a moral level? Is that wrong on, I wasted your time? Is that wrong because it was factually incorrect? But that is very specific. Your behaviour was unsafe and nothing to do with her as a person. I really like that he's being so calm and reasonable with her and explaining why it's wrong, rather than just saying, okay, you're excluded, get out of my office.
Mortgages, their houses, their families.
Yeah.
And I don't accept that that can ever happen. And I'm disgusted. You try and ruin somebody's life by doing that, Carmelita. It's not good enough. Go home. Don't want to see you till January.
Oh my God, what a morning.
Following an allegation against Mr. Drew, head teacher Mr. Goddard has spoken to the pupil's mum.
I phoned her up and said, just to let you know, I've taken Carmelita's accusation of assault by Mr. Drew very seriously. I've spoken to her, I've taken a statement, I've reviewed the footage on CCTV, and unfortunately your daughter's lying.
Well, fortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, fortunately.
Unfortunately for her.
Yeah.
Fortunately for us.
What is he doing?
Pushing her. Well, it's funny because it came from grabbing her through to pushing her through to, yeah, he did that as I went past. And I was like, okay.
It is a worry that there is always the potential that some malicious allegation is going to cause problems. But then that can happen to anyone. People lie. You know, children lie, adults lie, people lie. And if you spend your entire life saying, I'm never going to put myself in a situation where someone can lie about me, then you're not going to do anything.
Okay, I'm going to end this there because I do realise this is a super long video, but it's basically to the end anyway. They just kind of have a sing-song for Christmas afterwards. Wow, there is so much to reflect on there, but what really astounds me is I'm really glad that they focused on such a vital issue about safeguarding. You know, it's not all happy and jolly, and these things do happen, and sometimes you need to straight away take action with safeguarding. But also how throughout 46 minutes of footage, so many times I literally should have kept a tally of times that they reinforced the rules, reminded them, set expectations, reinforce the expectations, reinforce them again, and just constantly they are on it. You can't sleep. You can't kind of pause on it, just decide I'll let this one person off. You just can't. Anyway, if you are one of those people who has got to the end of this video, leave me your favourite emoji below so I know. It's like a secret club kind of thing. But yes, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, if you enjoyed it, please give it a like so that I know you would want me to carry these on, and subscribe for more teaching content. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!